This is Self-Starter. Hi folks, welcome to Self-Starter, a podcast that highlights the small business owners, the self-employed and freelancers who have taken the plunge to create their own desirable lifestyle. My name is Andy Dowling. I'm also the host of the Andy Social Podcast. I play bass in the Australian metal band Lord, and I'm also a dispute resolution specialist. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook by searching at Andy Dowling, or you can head on over to selfstarter.com.au where you can learn more about yours truly and anything and everything to do with the self-employment world. Now, this episode is with Sandra Pires, who is a multi-platform producer and director of Documentaries based in Wollongong. The name was actually first registered in the year 2000 because Sandra needed to create a business name and an ABN to get paid for a job, so it was not really expected or planned out. But since then, Documentaries has gradually evolved into a reputable, award-winning business and has become a driving force in creating content with purpose. Sandra's background in journalism exposed her to that freelancer contractor lifestyle really early in the piece, and I think that's what's helped her with the transition into creating her own business as well. She is full of great quotes as well as moments of inspiration, resilience and persistence. There is just so much you can take out of this episode, and as always, I'll have all my key takeaways at the end of this chat, which will also be published in the show notes over at selfstarter.com.au. You can also learn more about Documentaries at whydocumentaries.com.au. But for now though, get your notepad out this time and get ready to capture some of the great insights from Sandra Pires of Documentaries. Thanks for having me, Sandra. Do you want to just give a brief introduction of yourself and your business?
Yeah, sure. My name's Sandra Pires. I'm a multi-platform producer, director and founder of Documentaries.
And looking on your website, your bio and everything's quite impressive, and you've been in the industry, your background's journalism, but documentary filmmaking. So it's quite extensive leading up to today, but how long has Documentaries itself been up and running?
The actual name, Documentaries, was registered in the year 2000. Mm-hmm. So that began with an Indigenous project in Alice Springs. And that I needed a name and I needed a business in order to be paid for some work that I was doing down there. And that's what happened. That's how the name, the business started. But it's been an ongoing business. It was very part-time for a few years. I would say we've been full-time now for a good 10 years. Yep. And we've moved into this office. It's been, again, probably full-time just over a year that we've been in this particular office.
Yeah, I drive down Crown Street quite often and I keep looking at it going, what is that place? Why Documentaries? I need to look it up. So, I mean, it's you're in a good spot as far as visibility, and especially when you've got, like today, Friday morning peak hour traffic, everyone just sort of stops here waiting to get through the lights. So it's a great place for, as far as branding for the business. It's quite good.
Oh, it's definitely increased the visibility of our brand, and I'm so proud to have a ladybug as my logo out the window.
It's really good. I mean, so going back to 2000, when you're in that situation where you're about to film something, and then it literally, in order to get paid, you had to go, oh geez, I'm going to have to scramble here. You were working, I guess, as like a freelancer in a way, or some sort of contractor. That was where you were at that moment.
I was. So I was put on as an assistant producer on a short film, but it was looking at the incredible life of John Macumber from Karma and his 20 years setting up the Central Australian Aboriginal Media Association. It was just a contracting job to assist, but since the age of, say, 15, when I first did work experience out at Channel 9, I knew that I wanted to make films, documentaries. I didn't want to work in news, but I knew that, documentary was where I wanted to go.
Did you at that time, did you also think that it was something that you would do yourself, or did you have sort of thoughts, I'll work for a production company and I'll sort of be on the books, or was it something that you thought, I want to create something myself as far as a business, or was it only after that one project where you had to create your ABN that you thought, oh, maybe I can actually create my own thing after that?
Yeah, it's a bit strange how it all ends up happening, but I did a hell of a lot of work experience. Yeah. I worked in probably say 5 or 6 different production houses. I did some work experience up in Broome after I finished university in media production. I did work experience in Perth, all through Sydney, North Sydney. And what work experience is important for is to work out what you know you don't want to do. And having seen so many different examples of how people work, I was like, well, I can do this. I reckon I can do this. Why can't I do this? So as an entrepreneur, I suppose, or as somebody who has this want to tell stories and this, belief that I can make a difference, I thought, well, I want to do it for myself.
And I think it's probably one of those industries where there's so many people that work in sort of a freelance capacity or on contractual basis, where it's not your traditional 9-to-5 job where you just rock up and clock off at the end of the day and just go through that same routine. It's at all hours of the day, any day of the week, and it's sort of whenever there is a job that pops up, at least from an outside perspective looking in. So you probably had a lot of that you were sort of brought up with a lot of that sort of self-employed sort of perspective.
Yeah, I think as contractors and working on projects that matter or that you choose to work on, you just do what you have to do to get them over the line. Yeah. I can honestly say I don't think I've never worked a 9-to-5 full-time job. It's always been contract work, always been project work. It's probably like ridiculously more hours, but it's not that 9-to-5. Having the shop has made us be a little bit more 9-to-5, but still, we've got projects that will, you're here till 10 o'clock at night, some nights, other times you're, next week or whatever, we'll be in Maruya working on a project and, even overseas with some of the projects we're doing. So it's never been that. But yeah, you just have to do what you think you can do, I guess. And the most important thing for me has been not to take no as an answer. As in, just keep finding, well, without throwing the pun out there, the why, and getting around the no to try and find where that yes is, as far as where is the answer, where's the solution, not just accepting it, oh, well, it's no, I'll have to just give up now. I'm going to give you one motto that I live by. Yep. It's persistence beats resistance. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. I can't say that enough. I have been, every film I've tried to get up, there's always been some reason why someone said no. It's always a no. It's a very competitive field trying to get into the documentary world in Australia. But I've still managed to get my films up, still managed to do it. It may not have got as much funding as it could have, but they're there and those stories are there forever. Do you find that it's harder as well, because from what I can see, a lot of the work that you focus on is social topics, community-based things, causes. It's stuff that's can be quite emotive and can be not controversial. Well, it can be, but I guess it's things that stir up a lot of emotion in the general public. So do you find that trying to pitch the concept or the idea or to get people to open up to be able to document it in the right way and the right light can be a challenge in itself? The kind of stories that I like to tell are stories that haven't received the prominence and the standing in our Australian history that they should. And they've been kept down for reasons. Yep. So that's probably the issue that I have, is that I'm trying to do these stories that have been kept down, that haven't been given the status that they should. But they're the stories that need to be told. So I am always fighting against the grain. I'm always, trying to get things up that people say no to. I mean, even with the last film, Pig Iron Bob, I think I got rejected something like 10 times. And I'm still trying to get that film on ABC, SBS. Because once I believe in a project or a story, then where there's a will, there's a way. Yep. It's not about, you can't stop me from telling that story because there's no money. I'll just find another way to do it. That's right. Yeah. And it can happen. You must have fairly thick skin now after dealing with so many instances of potential rejection over the years of pitching these ideas and trying to get these stories to light. Yeah, absolutely. I think people kind of get surprised that I just don't walk away, and maybe I'm expected to. I don't know if it is, if it's a female or, you know, younger or, you know, that kind of, that I'll just walk away and won't.
Yeah.
But I keep coming back and I do get it done. But yeah, I mean, each project has its own difficulties, and yeah, sometimes you really get thrown around, especially when people don't realise what you're trying to do, or they take it out of context, or they take it too far. They say that you're, you know, oh gosh, just in the last couple of months, I've probably been accused of being all sorts of weird and wonderful things. You know, I don't know, maybe telling the truth in this day and age is radical.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, given from a technical point of view, you've got the skill set, the knowledge to be able to put together the content. I mean, the content itself is probably the biggest challenge for you, and obviously going through the process of getting it out to the public or getting the buy-in initially to get the story together. But the mechanics of it all is probably the easier part of the business. So, you know, somebody that's not attached to any of this could look at it and go, well, you've got the skill set there to create documentaries. I'm sure you could find like easier documentaries to do that and get them out there and make money and just skip along into the sunset and you'd be completely fine. But you've taken the path to make it more of a challenge to hit on issues and topics that are far more difficult.
I have no idea why I do that, and I wish that I could change, and I wish that I could make it easier for myself and market projects and stories that I didn't believe in or that I could make a lot of money on, but I can't.
No.
I think being on this planet for such a short time, I've got 3 kids that I want to leave, you know, something to the world. I believe, honestly, in all the projects that come in the door that we accept. It's kind of a funny thing. People think they're coming to us to give us work, but really we're looking at them, seeing whether or not we're actually going to work with them, whether we're actually going to be able to market their idea or their business, or we're going to tell the story or the health campaign or whatever it is. I have to fully believe in it before we get on board.
I guess that's the benefit of being sort of self-reliant and creating your own business, is that you can vet who you decide to work with, and and making sure that it aligns in with whatever your core beliefs are, instead of just, oh, this is the next pitch on the table. I've just got to turn everything off and just work like a robot and again spit it out. And so the why, once again, is most important for you.
It is. You know, that's all that it is. It is the most important question on the planet. Why are we here? Why are we doing what we're doing? Why do we care? You know, my background is media production, but also psychology.
Okay.
So the question why is always the most important question. You need to understand why things happen to someone in order for them to be behaving how they are. There's always a reason, and if you go back far enough in history, you'll find it.
Absolutely. From a business point of view, and you know, going back 20 odd years when the name came about, where you had to create this ABN and a name for the business to work on that particular project, going back to about a year ago when you've opened this site, what was the main driver for you to create a bricks and mortar? Was this the first bricks and mortar site that you had? Was everything else sort of, I don't know, from home beforehand, and this was the first sort of fully fledged operation that you've opened up?
Yeah. So this is the first. So before this, we were in Innovation Campus. So one of our projects was through that, and StartPad, and you know, we'd been around for a few years with a physical site. Before that, it was absolutely from home and project led. So I would meet up with people and outside. But having the office studio space has been fantastic. You know, people can come here. I'm not spending all my time travelling around trying to find people. People know where we are. We have other aspects to the business now because we've got the front, the frontage. So yeah, this has been, I think, a good move for us.
It's definitely, it's a multifaceted reason as to why it's here. It's not just, well, we've got a bricks and mortar store. You're not just a normal shop that you open up on Crown Street. It's an office. It's somewhere, as you said, that people can come to you. It's pretty central. It's easy enough to get to. So it obviously lends a lot of benefits for the business, as opposed to working within a campus or from home or trying to get out and track people down. It's just like, you come to me, and there's a level of professionalism that you show by having an operation set up in this spot as well.
Yeah, it also says we're here to stay.
Yep.
It's kind of like we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think people do recognise our brand with some of the projects. It's interesting, the kind of people that do walk in and go, well, what do you do? And then explain it, and they might come back or they don't.
Do you have a really good pitch? Like, just now it's like completely refined?
No, I'm still working out what I'm doing.
With this site, what were the challenges that you had leading up to it? Because I assume that there was something in the back of your mind that you were going to work towards it eventually. It was going to be something that would eventually happen, like you would open up an office somewhere. But what was the challenges that you had sort of getting to the point of opening this up?
Well, it just kind of deciding whether it's viable or not, I suppose, has been the reasoning. Having more space and to move out of the home, it's just, I think it's just easier to also separate home life and being here. I mean, before this shop, clients would call at 10 o'clock at night. It would be, we were kind of always available. There was no kind of separation between home and work, because it's my husband and I that were working on Why Documentaries. So this has just been much better in terms of giving us that break, and the equipment, everything's here, so we can't take it home with us and work on it. And we actually have weekends now with the family, so
it's good to have office hours.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, in that sense, but it is good to have the separation.
And so I assume that, as you said, like one of those challenges was just trying to work out whether it was going to be viable to even take that step, because I'm just having a guess here that it costs money to have a spot and have some form of lease, or if you've bought it or whatever it might be, there's expenses and there's ongoing expenses, utilities and everything like that. So there would have been a lot to sort of take into consideration based off the amount of work that you were getting to see whether it was something that could be sustainable.
Well, it took a long time to get to this point. It wasn't something taken lightly, but it was the next step. I like a place where there's collaboration. When we're working on films, that everybody's here, we're talking about it. People come into the office. We have some partnership arrangements. Absolutely. It's only been taken because we believe in the business. We believe where we're going with it, and we believe that this is the next step.
So this site's been open for about a year now, a yearish. What are the current challenges that you're dealing with? Just, I guess, from an operational point of view of having this place open, what sort of things, new challenges that you've had since having an actual office space or location? Is there anything? I mean, obviously there's upside and benefits, that's why you've done it, but has there been any sort of challenges that you've had to deal with or you're dealing with now?
Well, now we have to clean the office and home. So, you have that. But no, there hasn't been any major challenges. It's obviously a bit more expensive, but I think the upside is that we've got the place and the standing and the professional look, I suppose, for the business.
So I guess because Why Documentaries itself as a name and its function of what it's been doing has been around for quite a while now. The challenges that you have are the same challenges that you've probably been having for the last 20 years, as far as just, what we discussed before about just trying to get people on board and trying to push projects through and all that kind of stuff. That's what your ongoing challenges are.
Yeah, so they don't get any easier. Not the type of films that I'm really interested in. So we're working on our third feature documentary now, and it's still the same. It's been knocked back. It's an Australian-Irish history, and we've had to raise the funds ourselves. So it's still in that way until there seems to be some enlightening moment in my career or things change. I'm always going to be doing those stories that are, the ones that are less discovered.
Yep.
And because they are, or they're not known, my process is to raise that awareness around that history and to try and get people on board and to understand the significance of some of the issues that I believe in.
Yeah.
They're usually stories about turning points. They're always stories about people being pushed a little bit too far or doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and people uniting and doing something about it. I seem to have this theme that's happened organically, not something I went looking for. I do pride ourselves in being an independent video production house in terms of we don't have funding from anyone in specifically
there's no agenda behind the scenes.
There's no one allowed editorial control of my films. They're all told up front. And we've had some reasonable success. The last film has just sold to CCTV China. It was up against That Sugar film and Gillian Armstrong as a finalist for Best Australian Documentary. So these are, self-funded films that are there forever. So that's my biggest thing. It's, you've done it. That history's there. It's been captured. A lot of the people in my films have passed away, but we caught their histories.
That's it. It's a bit of a time capsule, isn't it? I mean, just something for historical record. There's already things that have been planted in the past, but they get forgotten about. I guess that's probably part of the big motivator for you to create these things, is that it brings things back to light, and then it creates something that people can look at now, but look at down the track as well.
Well, if the community wants the story, or if a community approaches me with a story that they believe's been overlooked, or a story that they believe needs to happen. And it's there and it's a really good story, then by all means I do get involved, and that's what I'm here for. And I can use those skills to actually get that story up, and I get so much out of it as well, but I know that it's there forever. And
from a digital point of view, online, no doubt that would have added over the years more advantages to getting messages out, getting stories out, putting online, whether it be paid or free content online, as far as video through YouTube or, I don't know, some of the other paid services or whatever it might be. That's no doubt helped your reach from a business point of view, but obviously getting the message out there, the core message of what that project's all about. But for the business, the internet's no doubt probably added up quite a bit to what you do.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's probably the most exciting time to be alive as a content producer in terms of producing your content, finding your audience online and delivering it. It's double-edged though. It's also everyone else is doing it. Lots of people are doing it. There's lots of content, and the price of producing content is going down. So it's how you find that medium. But online, I mean, if I needed to devote myself to a story in a particular project, or to get an audience, there's never been a better time to do that.
Do you actively source potential clients to work with? So if you hear about something, are you trying to source a project, or is it more of a case now, after so many years, that you have, through word of mouth and organic sort of reach, that you're getting people that are just coming to you and saying, this is what I need, and can you help me? And then you're in a position where it's coming to you now. You're not doing the cold selling. You're not trying to actively source leads. You're just working on that word of mouth. Yeah,
well, we're pretty specialised in terms of it's multicultural marketing or it's Australian history. They're the two main things that we do. We are quite successful in social media strategy and campaigns for organisations, and awareness campaigns. That's the kind of work that we do. So we've been very lucky in that we've been able to win some awards in both of those streams. So we're getting known for our work specifically for those. So people looking for those particular projects or content,
makes it easier.
They do come to us, and we are only pursuing work in those areas. So we're not really competing with everyone.
No, absolutely.
And we don't want every type of job, or we just want to make projects that we believe in, which is hard.
Well, I guess, but I mean, sometimes it probably makes it easier as well, because you're not distracted by a lot of noise and losing focus. You've got intention with what your core goal is, or those two segments that you're in. So it probably in some ways is easier, possibly.
Oh, it's easier because I love every project that I'm on. Every single project, every day that I come to work, I'm like, yes, I'm going to be working on this, this, this and this. I'm trying to look for ways to do more hours towards certain projects. I know what I can do. So yeah, no, in that way, it's much easier. Is probably the word. Yeah.
Being in the Illawarra and being in Wollongong, Wollongong probably not so much. It's a lot more built up than it's ever been. It's exploding. But a big thing about this podcast and the people that I speak to and the people that listen is that people sit on the fence about acting on ideas, and might be chained or feel like they're chained to a desk, or they're just doing something they don't enjoy, but they've got an idea that they can't execute on. And sometimes I think people use excuses about location, environment, or anything of the such that holds them back. No doubt you would have met so many people over the years, and coming from a background that's sort of freelancing and sort of contractual and self-employed, I'd love to just understand or get some thoughts from you from opportunities that people have out there to be able to create something themselves, whether it be creative or whether it be just something to be self-employed and create their own business.
Okay. Can I just read you out something that somebody gave me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
This one is probably the most poignant thing that explains all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this lady gave me this little saying and then funded part of my film. It says, "It's not who we are that holds us back, it's who we think we're not." And that quote is by Michael Nolan. And that was profound for me, because you kind of put this idea of who you are and what you can do in the world and blah, 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 but you don't think about who you think that you're not. So if you think, oh, well, I'm not a politician, or I'm not someone that can do that, or I'm not someone that's going to make change, or, that's the bit that we have to work on. It's the bit that we don't think that we are. We can do anything. And we ourselves are the ones holding ourselves back. If there's a project, of course you can do it. Like I said, persistence beats resistance. I think it must be a mathematical equation,
Absolutely. And no doubt, like, just for some of the projects that you've worked on with these stories that have been neglected for so long, and probably people have hesitated to talk about it because they feel like they're not the right person, or they don't have the capability to do it, or they can't articulate it in what they believe is the best way. And so you're probably seeing this time and time again with trying to get the most out of a story or a person that's involved with it, and trying to get a message out there and pushing through those fears that we create, which probably aren't even a reality.
Yeah, well, it is. It's hard to know if you're doing the right thing or not sometimes, and you try, and sometimes you actually think, oh, am I doing the right thing? If nobody wants me to do that, then maybe I shouldn't. You have to, it's almost focus testing. You have to check around you and check the people that you're working with, and show people your film, and show people your idea or your story or your project, and see if it's wanted and needed in the community. And then, it's kind of this testing that continues to happen.
So handle a bit of critique, a little bit of feedback.
You get feedback, and you have to listen to it. You have to. If you don't, I don't know what you're doing it for.
Are you getting better at that?
No. I still have to go through the whole process of understanding it and why, and making sure that there's no other ulterior motive, and that there's no one trying to stop the film for other reasons. And it's a really long mental process, and a lot of people
walk away for a bit and really sort of take it in. And
honestly, you can walk away for a project for 6 months and then come back. There's been films I thought I'm never going to finish because there's just not the support or funding, and then last minute it all happens. So I don't know how to explain it. It just really is hard work.
I think it's a unique type of business because of the type of work that you're doing, and I think you come across so many moments of friction on no doubt a daily basis to try and get some of these things out there, but it's kind of the experiences that you're having in this unique setting are the same experiences that almost anyone would have trying to create their own revenue stream, their own business, their own, being self-employed. You've got to go through those similar emotions of negative feedback, critique, trying to take it in, work out what's constructive, what's not, moving through it, not giving up. Yours is on a bit more of an amplified stage compared to probably what other people are going through, but I guess the fundamentals or the core of it is the same. It's a lot of character building, a lot of self-development along the way of just trying to get that thick skin and just keep moving and not giving up on whatever that vision is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where that comes from. I think that really is something. It's called belief in yourself, or, if you really believe in something and you can really align that with yourself, and you have gone through that process of trying to understand, and, that's all you stand, as a filmmaker or as a person with a business, or that's all you stand for.
Yep.
That's what you stand for.
So
you have to go through that process of really understanding if you really truly believe in it, or your project or your business, and then nothing should really topple that.
Yep.
If you really believe in something, then you just have to fight for
That's it. I think when it gets to a point where it's the only thing that sort of takes up any sort of brain power, and it's the only thing you're thinking about, that I think you kind of have to just act on it and just keep pushing ahead.
Well, that would be called passion. That's right.
Yeah,
which stories. I know which stories. There's the stories obviously you have to do to pay the bills, and there's things that you're helping with that that are messaging or whatever. But the stories that keep you awake at night, the stories that you find yourself, dreaming about. The amount of times I dreamt of Bob Menzies in my last film was crazy.
Yep.
It was just like, how am I going to tell this story? What am I going to do? How do I make it for, the betterment of our society? How do I tell the story for peace? For me, it is about peace and creating empathy between people. I'm not here to make things worse, hopefully. I mean, the way some people take my films, they do believe that, anyway. But that's the aim, is to do something that I think, will work and make things better, and different ideas and different, you can go to Innovation Campus and see some of the ideas and the businesses that people are working on, and they're also passionate about the different things that they're working on. It's amazing to see that level.
That's it. It becomes more than just, I want to create something to make some money. It's, I want to create something where I leave a footprint in a good way. I leave a mark, and I do something to give back, add some value in the community or in society in general, or whatever it might be. There's that, I guess, that level of, as you said, it's passion. There's that fulfillment that comes out of it. It's not just the mechanics of, I need to make some money, so I'll just start a business and, I don't know, sell slippers or something like that.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with selling slippers, but, I guess it's, if it's comfort of people, and there's got to be a reason why. I don't think just for money is enough to run a business. I think you need to believe in your business, and I think there needs to therefore be an ultimate goal, or a bigger goal that you're striving towards, or where you want things to go. Some of those sustainable organisations, and there's some amazing stories here in Wollongong, of businesses trying to make a difference. And they may well be millionaires in the process, but I think that the ultimate goal of any business needs to be, I think, aligned to your personal belief and hope. Yep,
absolutely. That's what keeps you fueled, and especially when in the slumps and the down times, when things are a little bit quiet and hard. That's what keeps you going, and
absolutely
pushes it through.
Yeah. I mean, I'd hate to have a business that I'd go, oh God, I've got to go to work every day. Like, why would you run your own business and go through all the pain and
absolutely, all the
extra
hardship
stuff and the extra hours and not time with the kids, and that it's because you believe in something. I believe that anyway.
It's part of you. It's part of your makeup.
Absolutely. Yep. It's just an extension of who you are, and you're putting it out there into the world.
There you go. Well, I'll put links to everything in the show notes, and any current projects that you're working on, and maybe I can reference some of the projects that you have spoken about as well, over at selfstar.com.au, but whydocumentaries.com.au is the website, so everyone go and check that out. But Sandra, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. If you want to learn more about Sandra Pires and Why Documentaries, you can go to whydocumentaries.com.au. But I've also got everything to do with Why Documentaries in the show notes over at selfstarter.com.au. There's a bunch of videos, trailers, lots of content, all the social media links to what Sandra is involved with. And there's just heaps and heaps of stuff to check out, including my key takeaways, which I will get into right now. Okay, here are my key takeaways. Now, as always, if I've missed something or you got something a little bit different out of this chat with Sandra, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you, love to get your feedback. Please contact me via any of the social media platforms, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or you can click on the contact me page on selfstarter.com.au and shoot me a message as well. But here are my takeaways. Number one, work experience. Sandra did several work experience stints around the country with various production houses. While work experience is a great way to hone in on what you want, it also helps identify what you don't want to do. Work experience isn't just reserved to those that are still in school or have just recently left. And maybe you could do a day or a fortnight, once a month or something like that, and give your time for free in exchange for some insight and experience in a line of work and industry that interests you. Remember, the more you give, the more you get. My bird going off in the background. I love you, Larry. Number two, thick skin. Failure, rejection, critique, and feedback. These are things that occur in everybody's self-employment journey. However, in Sandra's line of work, they're amplified, even more so than most other jobs out there. And while it certainly has its moments and it never gets easier, Sandra has developed this thick skin and understands that these moments are absolutely essential in fulfilling the needs of her business. Number three. Now, get your head around this one. Don't focus on what you think you are not. Sandra retold a great quote by Michael Nolan, which was, and I quote, "It's not who we are that holds us back, it's who we think we are not," end quote. Thanks, Larry, for chiming in. So sometimes our fear of not knowing or not having or not understanding becomes this dark cloud that paralyzes us from action. Sandra has a firm belief that you can do anything, and it's simply just getting started where the breakthrough begins. Number four, last one, money can't be the primary motivator. Starting and running your business is really, really hard. Money can be a motivator, but it can't be the only one. Sandra's passion for telling stories that impacts the community ensures that her business is aligned in with her own personal beliefs. It gives her that fuel to push through the harder moments, knowing that there are bigger reasons why she's doing it all. And that's it, folks. Those were my key takeaways from this great chat with Sandra, and a big thank you to my cockatiel Larry for chiming in and helping me get through each and every one of those takeaways. Thanks, Larry. Now, before we wrap it up, a big thank you to everybody that supports this podcast. It means a hell of a lot to me. And if you want to support this podcast even more than just listening to each episode of the Self-Starter Podcast, you can do so by leaving reviews anywhere on the internet, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, on Facebook, wherever, it doesn't matter. You can also support by recommending this podcast to anybody that you feel might be interested, somebody that might be starting their own business, somebody that's working an office job, wants to quit and get out of there, or somebody that's just really happy with what they're doing, but they want to earn a little bit of money on the side as well. Whatever it might be, if there's a bit of interest there, I'd absolutely love a recommendation and get a few more people listening to this podcast. It means a hell of a lot, and it's great to see this podcast building and building each and every episode as the months progress. So thank you very much to all of that support. Now, until next fortnight, take care, folks. Go to selfstarter.com.au. Lots of blogs, lots of content there, and I'm continuing to build on it. Would love to get some more feedback from you all and lots of recommendations for guests. But until next fortnight, take care. Bye-bye.